Okay, let's start here. We're going to be talking where this is a heating and AC test 13. Technician A says faulty heater operation can be caused by a faulty engine cooling system.
That's true.
That is true. Technician B says a complaint of insufficient heat can be caused by somebody not filling the cooling system properly.
That's true.
And so you got to, both of those guys are right. What we're going to do when we fill the cooling system up, we're going to turn the heater on high. And that's part of our check. You know, we want to see a hot top radiator hose. We want to feel a warm heater. Now we're assuming the heater was working right to start with, but at the same time, if the heater is not warm, then we're going to suspect that our cooling system is not full. Got that?
We're going to assume nobody named Greg got a hold of it.
Yeah. Technician A says a heater core leak can be the result of the coolant wearing a hole through the core. Technician B says a core leak can be caused by chemical action eating a hole through the core. Both of those guys are right too. Or, like I say, if somebody pinches the wrong hose, like if you're revving the motor up and you pinch the wrong hose when you're trying to see if the heater core is a problem, and if your water pump's trying to shove coolant into the heater core and you pinch the outlet, you're liable to bust the heater core that way. Technician A says the heater core inlet hose is connected to the water pump inlet. Technician B says the heater inlet hose is often bigger than the outlet hose. Who's right about that?
Smaller going in and bigger coming out.
That's right. It's smaller going in and bigger coming out. But is a heater core inlet hose connected to the water pump inlet?
No. No, not the inlet. The outlet.
Yeah. So.
Neither one of them.
Yeah, the heater core, the inlet. What's the water pump inlet?
The inlet?
Yeah.
The top radiator hose?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, does that go to the water pump?
No. It's the bottom radiator.
Yeah, the bottom radiator hose. But it actually is pumping out of the water pump usually. And sometimes, the heater core will actually, the heater hose will come off of somewhere else, but usually it comes off the water pump on the ones that we've. Now, I take that. The water pump, a lot of the times, is just that little piece that's mounted right there in the, this little water pump right here, this little water pump doesn't have any hose hookups to it at all because all the hoses are in the other part of it, see? And that one there obviously was leaking. You can see the little part coming out of there. Something else I want to say about water pumps is the reaction surface that these little vanes operate against, the clearance is pretty critical. And if for some reason it's too far away, the water pump won't move fluid. Is this a positive displacement pump?
That's a variable, ain't it?
Well, no.
I don't understand the difference.
Okay, let me tell you what a positive displacement pump is. Whenever you move whatever is doing the pumping on a positive displacement pump, the fluid is going to go somewhere. A windshield washer pump is not a positive displacement pump. Neither is this. If I take my windshield washer pump and I pinch the hose, this little impeller in the windshield washer pump just kind of whirls around and churns.
So
the oil pump's positive displacement, but it has a pressure relief valve.
Right.
Another positive displacement pump is the jack, like on a 20-ton press. It's got a bypass in it, but if you move that handle, that fluid is going somewhere. It's either going past the pressure relief, or it's going to where it's going to move something. And so that's what a positive displacement. A fuel pump, while it does have pressure relief and that kind of thing in there, it's also a positive displacement pump.
Same thing as an oil pump.
Yeah, oil pump and a fuel pump are similar. Now, the fuel pump the one little fuel pump in that Bronco that lifts fuel and brings it to the main fuel pump, it's not positive displacement. Yeah. It's like a windshield washer style pump, but it's a little bigger. And so that's the difference between a positive displacement pump and one that's not. But anyway, the long and the short of it is, this right here can whirl around if it and cavitate. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you'll see in situations on these water pumps where the reaction surface that water pump is spinning next to either has been eaten away by electrolysis or rust or something like that. And if you get too much of a gap between these blades, or if the blades themselves start to eat off, like if you pull the water pump out and those blades are kind of rusted away, that water pump ain't going to work worth a flip. So if you're ever looking to find out, like you say, well, I got one, I know it's full, I'm all of a sudden I'm overheating, All right, and you put your hand on the heater hose whenever the engine's good and warm, and that heater hose is not warm. You get where I'm going with that? If the heater hose is not warm, you got some issues there. All right, so
How many is
you got. When I say you got issues, I mean your water pump is probably not moving the water for some
Friday,
reason.
I put a timing belt on a 90 Corolla with a water pump, a new water pump, thermostat, and all that good stuff in it. And it took that car about 90 seconds to heat completely up.
Yeah, that sounds excessively fast, really. And when long open the thermostat?
Do what?
How long did it open the thermostat? Did you empty the cooling system?
I didn't empty it, no.
Yeah, 90 seconds to get it hot sounds to me like there's something wrong there.
I mean, it didn't show hot on the gauge, but you could feel everything and it got hot.
That's not good. I don't know. Was Michael bothered by that?
No.
Well, if it got fast that quick and it was cool when you started it, I'd be thinking something was rotten in Denmark. That don't make any sense.
But I mean, everything's brand new. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So what you're saying is you started it up cold and it got hot in a minute and a half.
Something like that. Maybe
It got hot faster than you expected it to. Yeah, 90 seconds. I don't know if that would be accurate or not. I got to chew on that one. Well, that sounds bad. But
If the water pump, if it's the bad water pump, you know, like I guess the line that comes back into it, like I have on my truck, the jug or not, the water come back in, it wouldn't recirculate the water back in if it's a water pump, right? Or it could be possibly something else.
well, I mean, now, are you got a problem now?
No, not me. It's someone else, but I'm trying to make sure for.
Yeah. Well, the water pump is going to be, the water pump's actually got to circulate the water through there. If something's keeping it, is the heater hose warm, the heater working and all that
They
stuff?
didn't say anything about that. They just said the water wasn't recirculating.
Yeah. Well, how do they know that?
I thought it could be either the water pump or...
How do they know the water? How do they know the water's not circulating?
Because they said that the water's not coming back into the... They have a jug like mine on my truck, they said.
It's not going, well, the radiator cap can cause that, you know. I mean, there's...
They are a little...
Yeah. Well, I mean, you'd have to take that on a as-is basis. But anyway. But, all right, let's see. Insufficient heat output from a heater can be caused by what?
Any of them?
Plug core, airlock, faulty thermostat, any of those four. What's the most common cause of it?
Probably thermostat.
Faulty thermostat. If the thermostat's broke, if it's open all the time, I'm going to tell you something else. It's really weird. My Jeep, my 2001 Cherokee, started running really cold. I was used to it running dead in the middle, and it would run way down around a little over 100 degrees. And it was running cold, and no heat and all that. So, well, I got a thermostat. I mean, not anything it's going to be except a thermostat. Thermostat. One time I heard a guy that emailed my website said that they had the belt on wrong, and it was spinning the water pump backwards, and it was making it run too cool. I think that was silly. I mean, I never
How do you
saw.
put a belt on backwards and make a water pump turn back?
Well, if you got it running, it's a serpentine belt. You run it around the wrong way. See what I'm saying? Now that was the only thing that he was saying. Well, I'm reading cold all the time, and I kept saying it's got to be a thermostat. He said, no, we had a belt on wrong. Which that's every vehicle's different, so I can't say that's impossible, but it bothered me a little bit. But it's his vehicle. It didn't cost me anything one way or another. But whatever happens is the thermostat in my 2001 Cherokee. You know how you drop it in water, you put the torch under it, you put the thermometer in it, and you want to see when the thermostat opens up. That thermostat didn't open it up until 210. But even though I was running cold, but I said, well, we're going to put a thermostat in it anyway because we already got it out. That's, the only time you're going to really reap any benefit out of dropping the thermostat in the water and heating it up. And I don't know why that one seemed to be working right, but it wasn't. I put another thermostat in there, and that thing ran as cool. It ran warm as toast, which is what I wanted. 210 is what I'm looking for. I like 210. That's where mine wants to run. I like for that to run there. Some people are scared to death for it to run, over 200, but I love it for running about 210 is healthy. Anyway, have seen them where there's overheating. You drop it in there, you get that thing to a high rolling boil, and the thermostat's still closed. You found something. And we've done that, put another thermostat in it, cool down, everything's fine. Okay? But always remember that water pump business, be it that if the rust is eating the impeller away, you're going to have one overheat. All right. Now then, we got Technician A says faulty cable adjustments can cause improper heat and AC operation.
Yes.
Technician B says a broken vacuum hose can do the same thing.
Yes.
Cable adjustments is what we're talking about here, right there. See that? See that one right there? That's a cable adjustment. And look what I'm turning here. I'm turning the one that gives us the heat and cool. See that? And now it's moving that cable. And if you got that cable adjusted wrong, some of them have had a cable going all the way out to the heater core, you know. All right. Technician B says a broken vacuum hose can do the same thing. Yeah, he's right. Both those guys are right. 5 is going to be a C.
Just like me and Michael had to put a valve in the head on the F-150. Mm-hmm. It's all vacuum operated. Mm-hmm. That's dumb.
Smooth, huh?
I don't like it.
Well, that's what they did for years. Real cars have vacuum operated stuff. No, I'm kidding. Mm-hmm. All right. A vacuum motor should do what? Should it move when vacuum is applied to the port? Should it hold a vacuum?
Hold a vacuum.
Should it both A and B? Or should it neither A and B? That's a C. Typical intake manifold vacuum readings at idle are what? Huh?
Most of mine are about 20.
18 to 20 inches of mercury. Inches, Hg is inches of mercury. Mm-hmm. Vacuum diagrams generally contain all of the following except A, vacuum controlled door positions, B,
temperature
vacuum temperature, that's a strange thing, and everybody should know that's a deal. You're going to see this if you get used to these kind of tests that we're taking and you can sail through these things, you'll usually do pretty good on an ASE test because they're real similar. Technician A and B, all of these are true except, you're going to see those kind of questions. A vacuum check valve. A vacuum check valve is supposed to do what? A, maintain vacuum in the vacuum reservoir under high load speed conditions. Is that true? Increase the vacuum in the vacuum reservoir. No. Prevent vacuum from becoming too high in the vacuum reservoir. That's a joke. Trap manifold vacuum in the intake manifold. Whoa. All right, now let me ask you this. What we were told, who was that I was working with the other day, and the defrost, all the air was going to the defrost. And what did you find wrong with that one?
Vacuum hose.
Vacuum hose disconnected. And
no, it wasn't disconnected. It was burnt in half.
Yeah. What they'll typically have, since I've got a crummy pen that will hardly right on the board here, is, you'll have, this is just a sort of a simplified version of it. You'll have a little vacuum. I just love not having a good pen. All right, vacuum coming from the manifold, right, will be here. And this right here will be a reservoir here. And this right here will feed your car. I've got to get me a better pen. Anyway, that one that's coming off that way, sometimes they'll have a different shape. They'll be made like an F. They'll have a line coming in and two coming out. Yeah. But that little vacuum, it keeps air from going back this way. The only place air can go is that way. And so what it does is it's constantly keeping you some muscle vacuum available. We used to have some of these big vans that had cruise control problems and stuff, and whenever they would go up a hill, the engine would keep pulling, deeper into the throttle until it cut its own throat. What do I mean by that? What happens to the manifold vacuum when you go deep into the throttle? It goes down. If you've got a vacuum gauge on, you'll see vacuum go down when you go deep into the throttle. If you're depending on vacuum to do something for you, like keep your doors where they're supposed to be on your dash, and you go deep into the throttle and there's a hole in this reservoir or the line going to that reservoir, it's going to go into the defrost. If your vacuum's hooked up good, I like to pull that little check valve off, and you can usually find it. It's usually fairly easy to get to. Now on this GMC, it ain't got one of them because they're all electric. And usually those electric actuators are what's wrong with them. And I'm going to show you guys sometime this semester, if I can get around to it, how to check those. You pop the end off the dash, and you can actually use a meter, and you can drive that door one way or another manually and watch the voltage change on your little pot. It's pretty cool. But anyway, if that reservoir is leaking, if that hose has had a rat that's gnawed a hole in it, or if it's got something rubbed in there, if I've got a plastic line that's rubbing against like an air conditioner, aluminum air conditioner line, what's going to happen there?
It's going to rub a hole in it?
It'll rub a hole in what?
A line.
Which line?
The plastic one?
No. The plastic one usually will pick up grit, and it will actually saw a hole in that air conditioner line without even making a hole in that vacuum line.
Really?
I've seen it happen. Yeah, plastic will work its way into that aluminum like a doggone little saw. It won't always do that, but I've seen it do it. I've seen it where it didn't even hurt the vacuum line, but it rubbed a hole in the doggone And wire harnesses will rub against stuff too. If a wire harness is up against something, and every time the engine torques, it moves, and you got all kinds of crazy electrical problems. If you look and see where a wire harness is going real tight against your accumulator or something like that, you pull it back, you see all kinds of copper, and it's
This engine that I'm putting in my car now, it's going to be solid motor, solid mounted to the frame.
yeah. Oh my gosh, you're gonna have a.
No,
you're gonna be going,
it's not. It doesn't.
Oh, did it shake?
It's
Oh, well.
pretty.
Okay, well, if you can do it without it being on rubber mounts, you'll be okay. Technician A says a thermostat that opens too soon can cause poor heater operation. Is he right or wrong? Technician B says low coolant level can cause poor heater operation. That's true too. Under what conditions should vacuum readings be taken to test vacuum supply for the actuators?
Wide open throttle? When it's running, wide open throttle? No.
That's going to be a B with an engine running. Not wide open throttle, no sir. You've got no vacuum at wide open throttle. How's the vacuum made? The throttle plate's closed, the engine's sucking against it. Got that? You open the throttle plate, your vacuum's going to drop.
What was number 9?
Number 9? Number 9 was actually an A. All right. Okay. Testing of most vacuum-operated controls requires which diagnostic tool?
B.
A and B.
That's actually A and B, a D. Both of them. After the water pump was replaced and the cooling system was refilled with coolant, the heater stopped providing warm air. Which is the most likely cause? A, the wrong concentration of antifreeze was installed. B, a defective heater control valve. C, an air pocket is trapped in the heater core. Or D, a slipping water pump drive belt.
See?
That's an air pocket trapped in the heater core, most likely. I tell you what I like to do if at all possible, when I'm filling the cooling system up, I like to take a hose loose that doesn't have a thermostat in it, and I like to pour the coolant in there with the funnel until I feel that engine block as full as I can possibly fill it before I ever start the car. I mean, I want to fill that block. If I can fill that block all the way up, that's what I'm going to do. On the old Volkswagen Rabbits, the thermostat was down low, so you could just pull the top radiator hose up and pour the coolant right in there and fill the engine block all the way up the top. Stick it back to radiator, and it would actually, you fill the whole cooling system. It was really cool when they did that.
You didn't have to even run it to do that?
Huh?
You didn't have to run it to fill
No, I mean, because the thermostat was in a different spot. Some of them have a thermostat on the bottom. And if it's that way, it's really pretty easy to get the air out of it.
What is that stuff you talk about pouring in an engine block to get all the crud out of the...
Oh, I've used CLR for that.
And it don't destroy the gaskets or anything?
I haven't seen it give any problem. And I know another guy that owns a shop that said he uses that for that. If it's got a lot of rust and stuff in there. Now, they say something in there about not using it with aluminum, but I've never seen that cause a problem.
Have you used it with aluminum?
Yeah. I mean, I've poured it in vehicles that have, the trainer vehicles when I was getting the rust out of there. I've never seen it have a problem. You could test it if you wanted to on some aluminum. It don't matter. You know what I'm saying? But that stuff right there, a lot of the times you can flush and flush and flush and flush, and you're not going to get that rust in that scale and all that mess out of there.
See, that's what I want to get out of.
And that stuff cuts it. It really does. And I've never known of it causing a problem. A lot of the time, the people that make this stuff sometimes will err on the side of caution. They will say, "Oh, we don't want," but in the real world, it doesn't really hurt anything. You notice how clean the water fountain was over there after I used that CLR and a wire brush? I got rid of all the little rust and scale, made the water fountain look really nice.
I'm going to put my blocks completely in aluminum and everything.
Yeah.
That's what it's all, and you can tell where the water jacket is. There's a bunch of,
that stuff's not going to be in there long enough to hurt it anyway. Even if it could hurt it, I don't think it would.
Well, yeah.
So basically, just pour that in there and you'll be okay with that. I mean, like I say, my buddy uses it over there. He's got a shop and he uses it all the time, and he ain't never had a problem.
Okay.
And, anyway, let's see. A lack of heat from the heater core is being diagnosed. Which is the most likely cause? Hoses reversed at the heater core, partially clogged heater core, a defective water pump, or a partially clogged radiator.
Partially clogged heater core?
Yeah, that's going to be what it is. One time, a long time ago, my dad, there was this Chrysler he was working on, and when he pulled the heater core, the hoses loose from the heater core, they were up there where you could see them pretty good. they were completely clogged up solid with a real powder fine. You know, rust can be such a fine, rust can be so fine that it will go past the fuel filter. You know,
That's what's happening to my
yeah,
drift car.
it will go past the fuel filter and get into the fuel system, and you know, you got to have a super duper fuel filter if you got an issue like that. Now, we used to make we used to put fuel filters that would be like would mount on the frame, and they'd have a spin-on filter, like an oil filter, and put them through. Those usually stop it, but the fuel filter, like what comes on it, if some of these farmers will have gas tanks that on their farm where they pump the gas in there, and the gas tank is just a big metal drum somebody put together for whatever, and it'll start to rust on the inside of that because a lot of times the gas is low and condensate builds in there, and it'll just slowly, and that rust is super powder fine. You may see an expedition that's giving some trouble, and I had a shop tip posted out like at one time. You know, you got a little snap ring you pull a fuel pressure regulator out of there with, and you'll see it all full of rust. And it'll also fill up the injectors.
Yeah.
You get rust in them. And you got some issues with that. But anyway.
Oh, is rust, rust can be magnetic, right? Since it's iron oxide, right?
Well, yeah.
So couldn't you just put a magnet in the filter somehow?
Well, that's a thought. I know that we put a magnet in the filter on the those transmission line filters. They got a magnet in them, you know, but some of what comes through there is not ferrous metal either, you know. Let's see. I kind of got off on a tangent there. Heater hoses are attached to the core using what?
Both of them.
Quick connect couplings, clamps, both A and B, neither A and B. That's 15. That's going to be both of them. The complaint is poor heater operation, and the top radiator hose and both heater hoses are at 160 degrees Fahrenheit. Technician A says this problem is caused by a plugged heater core. Technician B says the thermostat must be stuck open. Who's correct about that?
A, B.
Neither one of those guys is right. Neither one of those guys is right. I tell you something that popped into my mind, and that doesn't directly address this, but this one guy that who's read. Were you here then, Wes? I think it may have been last summer. This Red Ranger that we were working on, and when we pulled, you know, we looked at the condenser.
Put an air conditioner on? Yeah.
Yeah, we fixed the air conditioner. We looked at the condenser. There was not anything in it. When we pulled the radiator back and looked between it and the condenser, it was clogged completely up with dog fennels. Mm-hmm. It was awful. But that's dog fennels can go through the condenser and hang up in the radiator, and you won't ever think there's a problem because it's completely hidden from you. And I've actually taken radiators off of cars that were overheating, removed the radiator, and washed the outside of it with this just pressure washer and get all the crud and dirt out from between the fins and put it back in and had a cool running car. Just externally cleaning the radiator sometimes will make that much of a difference. When it was, of course, if it's clogged on the inside, you're going to have issues too. But sometimes you'll have one that's not clogged on the inside to amount to anything, but the outside will be clogged up with crud. That can also cause the head pressure on the AC to go way up, and that kind of thing. All right. There is this sign that I saw over there at this one place that does air conditioner work, and it says one of the things that it said, and it was for customers to read. It says, "We have never seen a refrigerant leak get better." Think about it. If it ever starts leaking, it's not going to stop leaking unless you do something to fix it.
Yeah, they don't make no Lucas.
However, nothing is absolute. Whenever I was driving my Jeep, and that girl pulled out in front of me, and I jerked the wheel to keep from T-boning her and bounced off the front of her car and slid sideways down through the ditch and all that kind of stuff. You know, I went sliding down through the ditch with parts flying everywhere and grass everywhere in the air, and I was thinking, okay, I need to try to keep this thing on two wheels. And then I was thinking, I'm not exactly sure how I would do that. If it wants to turn over, it's going to turn over. And then whenever I stopped sliding, I slid about 150 feet and tore up grass and everything else, you know. Ripped the whole side off that Cherokee just about. And so I says, well, when I stopped sliding, I says, I suppose I'm probably going to be late for work this morning a little bit. So, but anyway, I had it fixed. But the point is, the air conditioner didn't work when I got it back. Now, he didn't do anything to the air conditioner because he didn't have to. See what I'm saying? I mean, all he did, he replaced the nose on the front of the thing, but the air conditioner wouldn't cool. And so I noticed that I would charge up the air conditioner, and then it would, over a period of a couple of months, it would quit cooling, and I'd have to charge it up again. And so over a period of a couple of months, it quit cooling. Well, the last time I charged it up was last summer. And the other day I was at home and I was going to do a little work on it. So I hung my gauges on it and I fired it up to make sure it was going to be okay with its refrigerant. I even bought a can of refrigerant. And the pressures on the thing indicated that it had plenty of refrigerant in it. Now, I don't know how that happened or why it happened, but that refrigerant leak fixed itself. Because since last summer, and it's still cooling good, and I've got good pressures, I don't know what the deal is on that. Okay. Now then, now we're almost through here. Technician A says a plugged heater core can be cleaned by filling it with ammonia. Technician B says the best repair is to replace the heater core.
Yeah.
Okay. B. The AC performance test shows good high and low side pressures, but the air discharge at the ducts is not as cold as it should be. This could be caused by what?
The actuator door thing.
Misadjusted actuator, leaky vacuum hose, blend door not closing completely, any of the above. And that completes our test 13.